Hello everyone, Prime here, and I hope you're having a great day, because today we're going to be covering the worst ways that you could possibly die in Japanese mythology. If you enjoyed the video, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't leave a like, and let's get into this. So first up, we have having an adventure with the Orochi, an 8-headed and 8-tailed serpent beast. It was native to Izumo, Japan, and it actually encountered Susanoo, was probably the worst opponent the Orochi could ever face. Him being a god and all, and very well versed with a sword. But for you and me, that beast would be very, very much scary. It's about as large as 8 valleys, which is fairly scary, and was also covered in moss and trees. Its stomach was smeared with blood, which is fairly off-putting, I must say, and was also inflamed, so it may have looked really badass, but also like something you definitely don't want to fight. It also required sacrifices of human flesh, namely young children, and it had eaten about 7 or 8 by the time Susanoo arrived. It also had a special spot for sake, which was one of the ways that Susanoo was able to lure the beast and trap it, making it easier for him to slay. Luckily for Susanoo, he was able to defeat the beast fairly easily, but remember, Susanoo is a Japanese god. We are mere mortals, and again, this is a massive snake with 8 heads and 8 tails, covered in blood and trees. I know we would not stand a chance against that thing. You would have a horrendously bad death, poisoned to death, awful. A bite from that sort of thing? No. Crushed to death is probably your swiftest option to die from it, but even then, it's still very painful. So, let's move on to the next horrible thing that will kill you, shall we? Class has finally finished, and a student is desperate to use the toilet. The closest one, nobody ever uses. But this does not concern them, as they need to go. They enter the toilet, complete their business. As they're finishing up, they reach for the toilet paper to discover that there is none, and then they hear an ominous voice ask them, red paper or blue? The student answers red paper, beginning a violent stabbing, slashing, and blood spraying all over the toilet stall, until you could find yourself in a toilet stall decorated in blood, as if the blood was acting as a carpet. Another student finds himself in a similar scenario, and they are asked, red paper or blue? Blue, they respond, as they find themselves being strangled to death until their very face turned blue. The Akamonto may have been a serial killer, or perhaps it could have been a ghost appearing as a tall man with a pale white face. Either way, they are responsible for these very violent and undesirable methods of death. Apparently, if you don't answer, you still die. So, yeah, don't try to be smart with the Akamonto. If it was a serial killer, then yes, he would want to see your death either way. It's just being colourful about it. And also, there are some variations of this myth in which if you ask for a red paper, then your back would be flayed and you have a sort of skin cape. Hence, red cape. And if you asked for a blue cape, then all of the blood is drained from your body until your face turns blue. So, blue cape. Now, okay, to add some light into this little tale, there are actually 2 upsides to the Akamonto myth. The first was that the Akamonto themselves was a yoka named Kinade. If this was the case, then Kinade didn't actually kill anyone, but instead they kind of reached into the toilet stall and felt people's bottoms. Which, in comparison to having your back flayed, I think that's a better option, personally. I, of course, don't know what you would prefer in that situation, having your bottom stroked or your back flayed, but I think bottom stroking is not too bad in comparison. Kushikisaki Onna. Now, there's actually a movie about this one that you could watch. Look it up. I think it came out in about 2008 or 2009, Japanese movie. But the myth goes that a woman wanders around the earth, and she has a very unique fashion sense with her face. The face was slit from the cheeks to her mouth, reminiscent of the Joker. Someone showed me a Joker comic where he does the same thing with his mouth. And also, actually, no. The Joker movie, the Batman movie in which the Joker, gets one of those victims, I think they were some sort of crime lords or syndicate bosses or something, kind of slits their face with a knife. Like that, but this woman has a face like that. Specifically though, her target, children. And she asks them a very simple question. Do you think that I'm pretty? If the child answers no, then they're executed right there on the spot, without question or warning. Should the child answer yes, however, she will reveal a knife and craftily slit the child's face, just as hers is slit, which is very generous that she likes to share her sense of fashion, but I must say I rather decline. You also can't decline to answer this question either. If you ignore her, then, well, for whatever reason, she seems to like strangling because she'd strangle you to death apparently. But because of this, actually, for a time, Japanese teachers apparently were to escort Japanese students home from classes, which makes sense considering all of this. But, you know, myths are myths, and they're quite powerful things, if they actually were to exist or be the case. Let's just say I'd change any plans I'd have to go to Japan, especially after this next one. Now we're going to be talking about the second most popular suicide spot in the world, and it just happened to be a Japanese spot. Apparently Japan has one of the highest suicide rates in the world, and the spot in question is a forest. After the novelist Seicho Matsumoto published a novel by the name Kuroi Kaiju, The Black Sea of Forests, in which two lovers end the tale by committing suicide within the forest, you would think that the myth about a suicide forest would have begun here with this novelist, but you'd be quite mistaken. Among the many myths of suicide, the most common is death by hanging within the forest. At least hundreds of people have been found lifelessly hanging from the branches of Aokigahara's trees. Long ago, the families of old Japan would surrender people to the forest whilst they were plagued by famine. As you would imagine, food was a very sought-after expense. Family members found themselves lost within the dark forest, but their absence would have allowed their family to eat. Death did not come swiftly, and starvation is a cruel way to go. The souls and other remnants of these unfortunate people now wander the forest. It is said that their influence has tainted the soil, the trees, and the very essence of the forest as they haunt the cursed grounds. This essence also prevents weary travelers from leaving Aokigahara. So, yes, not exactly the kindest of places or a nice place to take your girlfriend on a honeymoon or... Girlfriend on a honeymoon? Really? You know what I mean. Don't take a nap in Aokigahara. Next up, we have Shinigami. Now, before you say anything, I know Shinigami didn't actually kill anyone. They were sort of monitors, if you will, or they had tasks very similar to actually Thanatos and were influenced by characters such as the Grim Reaper and I suppose Thanatos, in that their roles were simply to guide the souls on their journey to whatever was next, and they also signified the end of one's life. A man that was fed up with living and was all prepared to die was about to commit suicide when he was visited by one of these very beings, a Shinigami. The Shinigami explained that everyone had a candle associated with their life, and this candle represented their life force. If the flames on the candles burnt strong, then it was far from a person's time to die yet. However, if the wax on the candle was starting to wither and fade, and the burning light of the candle was all about to be extinguished, then that person was very close to death. The Shinigami did not want the man to die yet, because it was not his time. So instead of allowing the man to commit suicide, he told him of a very easy way that the man could make a lot of money very quickly. If a person was on their deathbed, a Shinigami would be seated somewhere on the bed, If a Shinigami was at the foot of the bed, then certain words could be spoken to drive the Shinigami away and therefore extend that person's life. However, if the Shinigami was stationed at the head of the bed, that person was beyond the point of saving and no magic words would help them. Understanding this, the man became very, very rich by posing as a doctor who could cure any illness. In this newfound richness and fame, the man became very greedy, and although he had saved many, many people from the clutches of death for them to die but another time, there came one patient where the Shinigami sat at the head of the bed. But the doctor was very, very greedy and so gambled. Whilst the Shinigami fell asleep, the doctor switched the head and the foot of the bed. This extended the person's lifespan, but the original Shinigami was not pleased with the doctor, and so he visited him and offered him some drinks as friends. So, under the guise that they would go out drinking, the doctor believed them, but he was tricked and taken to a room full of candles. Then the Shinigami showed the doctor his own candle, and it was about to run out. There was but one way the doctor could save himself from his fate. He had to transfer the waxes from his candle to another's. But whose? How? He didn't have much time. He had to do this quickly. But too many thoughts, too many actions. The doctor slipped and fell, which, how you slip and fall at such a critical time is beyond me. But he falls, the candle touches the floor, the waxes and the flame all go out, all extinguish, all used up, and the man dies. But, just so that you know, if he succeeded, he would be trading his life force for another's, or he would be sharing someone else's life force. That wasn't explained too well to me, so if you know, I'm hoping that someone actually knows the answer to that, whether it's a shared life force or he's literally just exchanging his life for another. Let me know in the comment section below. But we've reached the end of the video, guys. I hope as you just enjoy this, and happy Halloween, everyone. I hope as you enjoy your day, whether you're out partying or trick-or-treating, whatever you're doing, stay safe out there. And tell me what you thought of some of these stories. Which one was the most scary out of all of them? If you're new to the channel and want to see more content like this, well, you only need to click one beautiful red big button with an S and a U and a B on it. You'll figure it out. If you want me to do another similar video like this, well, I urge you to go ahead and check out the Mayan version of this if you haven't already. And if there's another pantheon like this, who this kind of theme that you want me to cover next, go ahead and leave a request in the comment section below. But until the next video, have a very good day. I have been Prime, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.